Welcome back. I'm Dr. Hazel Huang. This is the final part of the GenAI series, and in this video, we're going to look at how to build your own GenAI system. Before we dive in, a quick note if your tutor has placed restrictions on how you can use GenAI in your work. Follow them. There will be a pedagogical reason behind it, even if it isn't spelled out explicitly. And that reason almost always comes back to the same principle we've been building throughout this series. You need to develop your own knowledge base first. Your tutor isn't blocking a shortcut. They're protecting the foundation that makes the shortcut worth anything. The first question you might have is, which AI should you use? I don't think it matters. Before I committed to Claude, I did some research into Gemini and ChatGPT, both of which have project-like functions. On screen, you can see a peer-to-peer comparison between ChatGPT and Claude. ChatGPT generated this for me a couple of months ago. I still use ChatGPT and Gemini, which have strengths that Claude doesn't, but I use them as supplementary tools. I don't maintain systems across multiple platforms. So this video is based on my own experience with Claude, and all the terms are Claude-specific. So my advice is, try anything on the market and see which one you prefer. Invest your time in building and maintaining your system on that platform. An equally important question is, where do you start? Start with a project instruction. One per project, written in plain language. There are plenty of videos online that show you how to write a project instruction for your chosen AI platform. Or better yet, tell GenAI what you want to achieve and ask it to help you draft your project instruction. As you ask AI to do more, your project instruction will grow. That's natural. And at some point, when you have multiple projects running and you notice you're writing the same context over and over again, that's your signal. That repetition is telling you it's time to move to a system. When that happens, you'll know. Why build a system rather than just prompting? GenAI has no memory between sessions. Every conversation starts from zero. It doesn't know who you are, what you're working on, or how you like to work, unless you tell it every time. A one-off prompt is like asking a new assistant a question with no briefing. A system is the briefing. It carries your context, your preferences, and your workflow logic into every session, automatically. The system has 3 layers: my context, skill files, and project instructions. We'll talk about them one by one. The first layer is the global layer, called My Context. It tells Claude who you are, how you like to work, what you produce, and your preferences across everything. It's uploaded to every project. You build it once and maintain it over time. This is what My Context looks like. My Context is how Claude knows me. Without it, every session starts from scratch. Take this section, How I Like to Work with Claude, as an example. You can see the changes between the first version and the current version. I added intellectual standards because I found GenAI. I can behave like a people pleaser, but I want it to be more critical. You won't be able to add something like this until you've had sufficient experience with AI to know how it typically engages with you and what kind of engagement you actually want. Another example, the output preferences. The first version had a few general lines about output, useful, but vague. The current version replaces that with a detailed specification for every document type Claude produces. So I won't need to spend too much time reformatting. Instead, I can spend time on more meaningful tasks, such as refining ideas and clarifying my logical flow. The pattern you're seeing is the same one we've been tracking throughout. The first version told Claude what kind of output to produce. The current version tells it exactly how that output should look, leaving less to interpretation and getting closer to what you actually want on the first attempt. The second layer is skill files, or MD files. These encode the logic of specific workflows. In my case, how to update teaching materials, and how to develop a research idea. They're reusable across projects, and they get more precise as your understanding of your own workflow deepens. When I moved to the system architecture, I gave Claude my project instruction and asked it to help me draft a skill file. I started from there. Simple. The final layer is the project instruction, the task-specific layer. Skill files govern general workflow, whereas project instructions focus on project-specific needs. For example, my teaching skill file covers the general workflow and output I want from AI, but the project instruction, depending on the module I'm working on, focuses on course-specific requirements. Start at layer 3. Move up when the repetition tells you to. This is a snapshot of my research skill file, opened in VS Code, which is what I prefer, but you can write them in any text editor. These files are written in plain language. No code required. My skill files were produced with AI. I described what I needed. Claude drafted the structure, and I refined it through use. You don't need someone else's skill file to get started. Just describe your workflow to Claude and ask it to draft the structure for you. That's how I built mine. Can AI generate usable output directly once the system is built? The quick answer is no. The first two parts of this series, for example, involved 44 discrete tasks and iterations, and approximately 180 turns, calculated by Claude from the conversation history. The scripts you see on screen show the difference between the first and the final version. It wasn't just the length that changed. The structure and tone changed across 6 or more revision rounds. And across the production of this series, nearly a third of the decisions I made weren't options Claude had offered. That's exactly the direct GenAI don't follow it message in practice. Now you might be wondering, what about AI agents? Agents can act autonomously on your behalf, browsing the web, managing files, executing tasks in sequence without you directing each step. It's a genuinely exciting development. But I'll be honest with you, I've only tested it briefly. My work involves a lot of decisions that need to come from me, and the privacy implications of an agent acting on my behalf weren't something I was comfortable with yet, so I won't pretend to be an authority on it. What I will say is this: the system we've been building, where you direct, evaluate, and iterate, is the foundation you'd need before an agent could be useful anyway. If you don't understand your own workflow well enough to instruct Claude in a conversation, you're certainly not ready to let an agent run it autonomously. Build the base first. Some of my colleagues have flagged a concern that the way we use AI might make it difficult to work without it. Maybe, but before AI, it was already difficult to work without a computer or the internet, wasn't it? Every generation of tools changes what's possible and what becomes indispensable. The question has never been whether to use the tool. It's always been how well. Don't be paranoid. It's a tool. Use it well. When I graduated nearly 30 years ago, knowing how to use email and Word was table stakes. Can you now imagine anyone who doesn't know how to use email or Word? GenAI literacy is the equivalent for your generation. Knowing how to use it well, how to direct it, how to evaluate what it gives you, how to build a system that makes your work better rather than just faster. That will be the competitive advantage for those entering the job market in the next 2 years. And it will only be your competitive advantage when you have the knowledge base. Without it, you won't be able to use GenAI well. There is no shortcut in learning or reading. That wraps up our session on how to build your GenAI system. Remember, grow your knowledge, build your system, and amplify everything. That's the GenAI series done. Next, we're back to research methods. I'll see you there.